Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to House Group Session 2. So pumped up that you're going to be a part of the next 10 weeks of House Groups at Revision. On Sunday, we kicked off a brand new series called A Thrill of Hope. And we're going to spend the Christmas season at Revision talking about hope, which is an interesting topic to talk about in the middle of this shattered world. In the novel A Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut, the main character discovers this book entitled What Can a Thoughtful Man Hope for Mankind Given the Experience of the Last Million Years? It's a long book title, but he was really excited to read it, and then he opened it up, and there was a single word inside. Nothing. A thoughtful person can hope nothing for mankind given all that's occurred throughout recorded history. Things are hopeless. It's kind of a depressing thought, and it's a depressing moment in that book, but it's a sentiment I think a whole lot of people in our world share. They look at poverty and slavery and oppression and corruption and feel like we're surrounded by so much brokenness that hope isn't a real possibility. And on Sunday, Grant talked about the hope we have as Christians. He quoted from the book of Hebrews, chapter 6, we have this hope as an anchor for our souls. I love that. It always reminds me of the song Cornerstone by Hillsong. It's a popular song, probably a whole lot of, if you've been around church for any amount of time, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, you know that song, Christ Alone Cornerstone. It's based off of an old hymn called Christ the Solid Rock. But there's this line in there that always gets me. It says, when darkness seems to hide his face, I rest on his unchanging grace. In every high and stormy gale, my anchor holds within the veil. I just think, man, I resonate with this idea that sometimes darkness seems to hide God's face. Sometimes my life and my world and my surroundings seem so dark that I wonder, is God even there? Is he even watching? Does he even know what's happening in our world? Does he care about me? Sometimes life feels like a stormy gale, like the waves are crashing all around me. But in those moments, this anchor of hope holds within the veil. And that line, like my anchor holds within the veil, is from Hebrews chapter 6:19. We have this hope as an anchor for our souls, firm and secure. It enters in the sanctuary behind the curtain, where our forerunner Jesus has gone ahead of us. And that line, it enters in the sanctuary behind the curtain. And the line in the song, my anchor holds within the veil, refers to the temple in the Old Testament. That there was this heavy, thick veil, this curtain that separated like the rest of the temple from this place called the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant was, and God's presence dwelt in the Holy of Holies. Now, God's omnipresent, he's everywhere all the time, but his holy presence sat atop the Ark of the Covenant in the Holy of Holies. It was the place that represented the presence of God with his people. And then in the New Testament, we read that when Jesus died, at the moment he gave up his last breath, the curtain ripped from top to bottom. I mean, it was 4 inches thick. It didn't just rip. Like, the curtain was torn. But that line that the writer of Hebrews writes down, that like, hey, we have this hope as an anchor for our souls, anchored like when Jesus went behind the curtain. And the line in that song, in every high and stormy gale, like when darkness seems to hide his face, my anchor holds within the veil, is this idea that we have hope even when things seem hopeless. Even when the world around us seems so shattered that hope is not worth hoping, we hold on to hope because of the love and the presence of God with us. Because God loved us enough to step out of heaven onto earth, out of eternity into history, and give up his life for us. And because the tearing of that veil symbolizes his presence with us and within us at every single moment. So even when it seems like things are hopeless, we have a God who is real and who loves us and who is present with us. And that changes everything for you and for me and for those of us who put our faith in Jesus, even in the middle of a shattered world. It allows us to be people who walk out into the darkness and shine a light and point hopeless people toward the hope that lives inside of us. And so I know at Christmas for some of us, things can feel particularly bleak and hopeless. And I know the world we're living in is all kinds of messed up. But our anchor holds within the veil. God loves us and He's present with us. And that's why at every moment, in any moment, we have hope.